another live interview for you today with, oh my goodness, I didn't actually, I'm going to say Philip because I couldn't probably pronounce your last name if I tried, and it's not actually here anyway. So it's Philip
Yeah.
from Veloso Limited. And I'm really excited because Philip's all about marketing and marketing. We're big on marketing. If we're networking, it's because we're looking for clients and connections. And a great way to do that is through marketing. So I'm really excited to share with you guys, with all you rebels out there, Philip from Veloso. So, firstly, I'm just checking to see we're online. We are online. Um, what does Veloso mean?
Veloso was a completely made up name that doesn't mean
Oh,
anything.
it doesn't mean anything.
Well,
Where was the
half of
inspiration?
it,
Did pardon?
half of it means something. Half of it comes from the Greek for wisdom.
Oh,
So
nice.
and
Which
then
bit's
the
the
rest
wisdom?
the rest we just filled in. We wanted something completely unique that doesn't sound like anything else, and that's what we settled on.
Which bit's the wisdom bit?
I believe it was the first part, the Vil. But there's been so many different iterations of the name that, to be quite honest, I've slightly forgotten what
Oh,
what,
okay.
what
I
version of it.
completely asked. I asked the total wrong question. I was just so
No, you're fine.
curious.
You're fine. You're
Um,
fine.
so tell me a little bit about you and the business.
Sure.
Whatever you think is relevant. I like to have an open question
Yeah.
to kick things off.
Yeah. So I am the co-founder of Velosa Limited. So the other founder as well, me and him have worked together about 3 or 4 different times now in different backgrounds. There are B2B, B2C, retail, business development, um, so and of course marketing. So we kind of had like the full picture of what most businesses have to deal with on a daily basis. Now, I myself have lived and worked on 3 different continents throughout the last 10 years. So I've I've gotten, I think, experience that is quite unique, and
Mm,
got to work in different situations, different settings, different cultures, and that can quite differently affect the way the business is done, and especially in marketing. Yeah, affects how people see your messages and how it's being translated. But one thing for me that really kind of stood out is no matter where you are in the world and what country it is and amongst what people you are, the marketing is solely based on what I call smoke and mirrors and quite kind of empty promises and people not really getting a lot of value, especially if we're talking about business owners that work with agencies to help them with marketing. I think a lot of them hide behind jargon and fancy words and not really working with integrity. And that to me never sat right. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to try and do something completely different. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard because you need to be brutally honest with people. But those that are ready to grow their businesses will always appreciate brutal honesty for the sake of growth, rather than everything being sugar coated and holding hands and saying everything's fine and don't worry. Then a year down the road, you realize that all your budget has been wasted.
so, what services do you provide?
So for us, we originally started actually on the SEO side of things and helping people kind of grow digitally that way and grow their business online. The way the things went and the opportunities that we saw, we realized marketing is where we can bring even more value and help businesses online with their websites, with their social media presence. And then on top of that, we decided then to offer just recently business consulting services. So these can also be for startups, for SMEs, and even more developed businesses. For me, it was a way of when I started, and I remember discussing things with Business Gateway and the kind of advice and the guidance that you get with that. But I realized it doesn't actually take you that far in terms of
Mm,
that consulting and in terms of guidance. And I wanted to provide people with that next step. Now, for some people, that could be, is my strategy okay? Do I need to rip it up? And we often say, we'll rip up your strategy completely, even your business plan completely. And people go, but we uh, we always say, you know what, I think the number one value that we bring is that we look at not just the next 2 or 3 steps ahead, but we try and bring you the vision in terms of what's at step, 5, 6, 7, and make sure that you don't do anything that will limit your own growth, because a lot of people do that. And then when we
Can you give
join
an
them,
example?
yeah, for example, sometimes even the name or the
Mm.
slogan that you choose can be very, very limiting. We
Yeah.
worked, for example, with a gaming cafe before that decided that they were going to be both a coffee shop and a gaming spot. But the name that they chose was solely centered on coffee and had
Mm.
nothing to do with the other side. And then the gaming side started to grow and outgrow the coffee side. And then they were stuck with it. And I was like, if you had only had the vision to see that,
Mm.
even if you had your bets and try and provide great balance in terms of if one side grows, then you can pursue that. So sometimes people can take these decisions and make moves that unfortunately they don't see will limit the number of opportunities that they'll have. So that's where we step in and try to help people have the right building blocks so they don't do that.
What building blocks do you specialize in?
So for us, I think because we're both, I think, business consultants by nature, we look at the grand vision of the business. We look at the strategy, the goals, and kind of where you want to be. We work backwards, and then through our own strategy, we create those tactics backwards that we say these are different levels of both opportunities and challenges that you have and being able to address the both. And then when we do it that way, we then start to create a clear path for the business owners, basically to say, okay, this is maybe something I've not considered, or this is a lot more direct than I thought before. And I think that part is a major, I think, challenge, especially for someone that's trying to grow the business, trying to do so many things at once, not realizing that if you try to do so many, you'll never do one of them great. But if you maybe focus on one or two, you have a much greater chance of being able to follow through and grow.
Is there something that you do the same? Like, is that like, do you have like a specific strategy, or do you have so for instance, like with us, we have one main strategy that we support clients with, and it's very much like, is this strategy for you? And if it's not, then we can't work together. So we can be quite like, we really focus on just one service that we specialize in, and we have quite a clear message. But I'm interested, like, so do you have like something that you go like, this is the one thing we always want to implement in a business, this one thing? Or, and if someone doesn't, if that, because it's not going to fit for every business presumably,
Yeah,
so it's
of
like,
course.
who's that, who, like, do you have that sort of secret sauce where it's like, this one thing that I love to do with people, but it's
Yeah,
only relevant if this is the type of person you are? So ours is like, we have a live element, and if you don't want to be live, if you don't want to show up, if you don't want to host events, kind of thing, it's just not going to work for you. But
yeah,
that's our primary focus, and it's our kind of like hypotheses. We like go, this is the best way to grow by our standard, and
yeah,
there's one way, but obviously, and we know there's loads of ways, but we've got our one rebellious method. So I'm
yeah,
intrigued, like, do you have that specific thing where you go, these are the benchmarks I want to implement in, or like
yeah.
these are the particular way, without, you don't have to give everything away, but I'm intrigued, like.
Yeah, without giving too much of the secret sauce, I will say this is a controversial one, but
Mm,
our main thing is honesty, which
okay.
marketing is not really usually about whatsoever.
Mm,
But the reason I say that is it's two-way. So for us, number one, when we work with clients, we always preface it by saying we're not for everyone, and we'll sit down and we'll have a meeting, and only if we fit together, we will work together. And that means being on the same page in terms of how you develop your business and how you can grow further. Now, the second side of that is that, which is basically transparency and being direct. Now, the second part of that really is from the business to their end consumer, that same message goes across. And what's central to that is, I would say, brand identity. That
okay.
we always need to nail down and get the voice right and base the strategy around it with the company values and the company vision in mind. Reason I say that is you'll probably see quite a lot of even big, huge corporations within the kind of last year or so have switched from being that kind of just corporate entity into now almost personal brands. I'll
Mm.
give you one great example
Oh yeah, I'd love
of
to.
a brand that everyone used to hate and love to hate, which is Ryanair, right? And
Yeah,
Ryanair
yeah,
loves
yeah,
to
yeah,
charge
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
for this. They'll lose your luggage, they'll land in a place that's 2 hours away from everything, and so on and so on. Now, the major change that Ryanair made online is that they started to create a personal brand identity rather than just a corporate one, to the point where they're actually quite snarky and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sarcastic.
They're funny. I agree. This is a
Yeah,
really good example. I love that. That's such a great way of saying personal brand. The other one that comes to my mind is Aldi.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
Aldi's like
exactly, yeah.
trolling everyone and
Yeah,
is
and even when
like,
they had that fight with M&S about the
yeah. And
caterpillar,
then
yeah,
they still do their little swipes. Their social media is so good. I love it.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
okay, so
that
I
so that's
understand.
Yeah, so that's essentially the move that we then realized is central to connecting with people. Marketing is all about
Mm,
getting a message across and connecting with people. And people don't really resonate with big corporations anymore, and all they see them as profit-making machines. However, if they see the people behind it, that's a completely different story, and they actually create some sort of link with them, and they start liking the brand even if it has nothing to do with them wanting their services. Monzo is another great example. I don't know if you've seen their social media, but they I think invented a person called Greg, who every now and again just hijacks their social media, and
no,
then
I haven't seen
Monzo
that.
come in and basically post after that and saying, "Please disregard everything Greg has said. We did not authorize him." And then further down, you see like Greg has replied in the
Right.
comments. So
Yeah, yeah, that's really fun.
then
So is this the
people
type of
actually
thing
then
you like to do with people then? Is like build them a
yeah.
brand, like a little brand identity. So is it when you say marketing, are you really talking about the brand identity and the brand voice and building a bit of personality?
Yes, but on marketing as a whole, like being able to create that core of it, and then
Mm,
with the brand identity, the values, and the brand voice, and then being able to spread it to everything. For an example, like even if we're talking about everything kind of being grown online, but then we take it to the physical world, and if it's, for example, like an office, and you have a banner outside, or you have a car wrap for people to see you in traffic, we make sure that we can have that same message, and we always ask the question of how does your brand voice come through, and that everything, all your messaging will still have your own tone in it, and people still see you and your own voice and your own vision and your own values throughout everything that's being marketed in every way.
so then is it about creating those brand assets?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that's yeah. Essentially, we always look at those pillars that
Hmm.
we create all the content around, whether it's online or we create, in the physical world, of course. And we start; those are our building blocks, and we start kind of growing from there. The beautiful thing is that once we start doing that, and once people start engaging, you then start to see completely different results in terms of, for example, online you have great videos or great pieces of content that have lots of likes, have lots of views, but mean nothing. And then you
Mm.
have ones that might be 10 times less, but actually people engage with, and people start to listen to the brand and their values, and they actually want to be a part of it in some way, even if it's not now, even if they don't want to purchase anything now, it's in the future, and they actually relate with the brand. And that's what we try to do. We don't just build things that will look nice and get lots of views and mean absolutely nothing, but actually ones that will help you grow the right way, which is essentially through your own brand identity, letting that shine.
And so your package kind of consists of um like defining a brand identity and a brand voice, making the assets um and then creating content.
Yeah, that's that's exactly where we start. We obviously always start with number one, a discovery call, see if we match. And we've had calls where we said we're not the right ones for you. We're just being brutally honest, and that's that's at our core, just being brutally honest. And let's say if we have people that come to us and say, "I want 1,000 clicks on this, I want conversion," and they talk about ROI, which to me is almost a swear word because I absolutely hate it, especially when it comes to marketing. Because to me, marketing is long lasting and it's more of an art form rather than just
Oh,
things off.
okay, interesting. This is interesting. But
Yeah,
okay, keep going. I'm intrigued, yeah.
I'll tell you a reason why. There's also a very important, a very famous marketer, Rory Sutherland, I think.
Yes,
You,
yeah, we know
you can find
Rory.
him online, and he also says that if in marketing you ever get to a point where you're trying to measure something, you have already lost the whole picture. So
Okay,
um,
yeah.
yeah, the reason I'm saying, of course, there's many businesses that focus solely on that and what return I'm going to get back. Reason I'm saying that is that if you grow the right way and you create a great strategy and a campaign that follows from that, that campaign can be so long lasting that people can still remember you months down the line, half a year down the line, whatever it is. But your period that you're measuring is still maybe 1 or 2 months or whatever, and you've locked it in, you've boxed it in and into that, and that's all there will ever be in your
I see.
results in terms of data and figures. The reason why we don't look at that is we're more focused on growth and not
Mm,
just the numbers and the data in a specific time frame. We
right,
look at it
okay.
holistically, essentially.
Okay. I mean, it's an interesting approach. That's totally fair. It's obviously everyone has like a different sort of way of doing it. Do you have like particular KPIs that you are specifically really interested in?
Yes, and for us, it differs based on where you are in your journey as a business
Mm.
and where we
Okay,
are in
yeah.
our journey together. And I think once again, a lot of businesses, what they'll do is they'll just have a set of static KPIs as they go along, and they'll be like, here's a number of likes, here's a number of views for reels and so on, and shares and comments, and that's it, right? Whereas we measure different things. In the beginning, you have your exposure, your views, how many
Mm,
different accounts you've actually reached, and then we look at more engagement. Then we go from engagement to what are actually people saying about you. We create different kind of word maps from these engagements, and we see, okay, and who is it actually coming from. We like to actually be analytical, even though I say we don't look at ROI, but we actually like to see what makes sense about your audience, right? um I'll give you an example. We've done ads before for a client where they were getting great results from it, and if we were just looking at ROI, we would have said, perfect, smashed it out of the park. Let's do it again. You know, Same budget next month. Excellent. Let's go. But then actually taking a deeper dive into it, we said, okay, but these are actually the demographics that are most engaging with this campaign. Do you really see that this is the major part of the demographic that will actually end up being your consumer? And then actually that ended up having, I guess, to review that whole part of the strategy from the client's end, and they actually ended up saying, you know what, like that's not what I want. I said, well, actually 30% of the results right there, 33%, uh we can actually completely eliminate then. And that whole ROI was based on that larger figure. So for us, we ended up doing another campaign, which, if you once again looked at ROI, had the worst result. And then we said, okay, let's have a look at the real data and see what people are saying, how people are engaging, and from where and what kind of demographics. Once we looked at that data, we realized, actually, this is way better than the previous campaign that we've done. So that's what I mean by ROI is a bit of a
okay.
swear word for us sometimes.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's really, I guess it's very disruptive because I think that's obviously what a lot of business owners are looking for. Like they want ROI, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, I guess we come at it from really different
yeah,
angles on that. So, but that's great. That's what I love about having this network and being in this space is that there's different ways to approach this, like different things. And if if people are looking for to have a deep dive in data and
mhm,
to look, and I mean I can completely agree that ROIs, I don't think ROI tells a big enough story. That's maybe
yeah,
what I would agree with, is that
exactly.
we ROI kind of just tells us one part, of the story, but then we have to look at so many things to really pick out the rest. So
Yeah.
I can kind of get on board on and say, yeah, I can see how it's not comprehensive and it doesn't provide all of the information. But yeah, we definitely don't think ROI is a swear word. It's a pretty good word where we are. Is there anything that you feel like what value you could add? Just putting out some unsolicited advice to the rebels that could help them. I don't know, help them do something. Like whatever it is that you feel that you're really skillful at, something that you can impart some
Yeah,
wisdom with.
exactly. I think having clarity and that direction in business, especially when you're trying to figure out how and where to grow, is so difficult because number
Mm.
one, I think a majority of business owners, which is a great thing, but they think they can do 1,000 things,
No.
right? And it's good. I'd rather have that than someone having a pessimistic outlook. However, the reality is that the resources that you have at your availability in terms of time are always limited. So you can't do 1,000 things at once. And I've worked with people that do five, six, seven different things, and I was like, "When do you sleep?" And they say, "I don't know what sleep is anymore." So
Mm.
and there's always a brick wall that you hit at some point when it comes to that, because people start out thinking, yes, I can do 4 or 5 things. I've been doing it, right now for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. That's fine. What they don't see is that if you're fortunate enough for those things to take off, you can't clone yourself. Maybe you can. I don't know. If you can, that's a great business idea. Go for that. So
Mm.
but if those things take off, they require more time and more energy and more attention. At what point, some businesses end up failing through growth, and that is you don't have clarity, you don't have direction, and you haven't set up steps that will allow you to follow up through that growth. And that's essentially what we do. We sit down with people and we say, okay, what's your vision? Where do you want to be? We talk about that, where they've been, what they want to do, start creating a strategy, and then we say, look, there are so many opportunities there for you, hopefully, but quite a number of challenges. Now, sometimes challenges can eliminate these opportunity routes, sometimes they just limit them. So then we look at what's the best avenue of growth for you. So it's not just about taking every single opportunity that you have, but taking the right one and the one that allows you to follow through, to still be true to yourself, to your own values, and to your own brand identity. And I think that's the clarity that we bring to people that is very hard to see. In reality, every business owner sees this business as a child. And
Mm.
if you approach it that way, of course, you want the best for your child and you want everything, you want the world. And that's a great thing to have. However, if we go back to the being brutally honest thing, you can't if that's your child, you can't be an astronaut, a president, a jazz player, a professional tennis player all at the same time, right? So
Mm.
your business has to be seen in the same way. You can't do all of those things at the same time. And only through clarity can you actually figure out, okay, what do we do? How do we make sure we don't lose this opportunity? And how do we not limit our own growth? And that's where we sit down, we have a look at everything, create those steps. And the number one, kind of most important thing that I can say in terms of our value that as we go along is we are highly adaptable and flexible in terms of our strategies. And
Mm.
we're not afraid to say, we won't only just rip up your own strategy if needed, but we'll rip up our own. And I
Mhm.
think that's where we stand apart, because usually this kind of agency, nobody will put up their own hand and say, you know what, I'm going to rip up what I've done for the past few months and create a new strategy that will fit around your new opportunity for the same money, because it's always means more work for no extra money. And that's something that we do because we truly believe that we can grow together with businesses, and if it requires us doing that, we'll rip up everything we've done and just we'll focus on what the opportunity is, the best one for you and ahead of you.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much. So there you have it, rebels. That is if you need to rip up your strategy, if you need to like burn the strategy down, which we have done this before in Rebellious. It was challenging. So yeah, if you want someone in your corner for strategy improvement or burning down, I think Philip.
Yeah.
He seems like he's your man. You can catch him. I put his links in the description of this live. You can reach him on the website, which is www.veloso.co.uk, or Instagram, which is, I guess, veloso.co.uk also.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me, and congrats for winning the business buzzword bingo. You're very clever, because there weren't actually any winners, and you prompted me to help you win. And kudos to you. Yes, I can confirm to everyone that Philip does definitely think outside the box. So if
Yep,
you
we
guys
definitely
want to
need
get
to.
hold of Philip, make sure you click on the link in the description, follow him on Instagram, send him some love. For all of those of you who are on the watching on the replay as well, you know what to do. Give the likes, give the shares, and go follow Philip. And yeah, tell us, share your thoughts on today's interview. So that's us. Oh, hey, Mark. Oh, thank you so much, Mark, for the comment. We're logging off now, but thank you so much for having a comment, and also thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to end the stream now. Bye, Rebels. Bye.
Thanks for having me.